Hey guys, so I just wanted to do this really not quick video, but a semi-quick video showing you guys literally one of the best dinners that I have made in a long time. So the main component of this meal is salmon, and I think that I may have included this in a previous video, but this is salmon. I bought the entire fillet from Jewel Osco, and I just decided to marinate it. I believe this is lemon pepper seasonings, definitely a lot of minced garlic, a little bit of tarragon, some parsley, just a few pinches of oregano. I also have a little bit of cayenne pepper in there, some paprika, black pepper, and seasoned salt. Now, I am also going to be making some shrimp with this, but at the time, my shrimp was completely frozen. I forgot to set it out earlier, y'all, when I had set my salmon out, so I'm just going to let that sit on the counter for a little bit and chill out. But my salmon has been marinating for a couple hours at this point. I just put it in my little bowl and set it back in the refrigerator with a little bit of olive oil on top and let it marinate for probably 4 hours. But you, of course, don't have to do that. Now, the next thing that I'm going to be adding to this dish is green beans. Now, I am using frozen green beans. If you have fresh, you can. I'm also going to be putting 1 strip of bacon in there and adding some cherry tomatoes towards the end of the cooking process. This is how I love to make my green beans. Of course, you can take away or add anything that you like, but I think they taste so great like this when you saute them. And yes, you can saute frozen green beans. Now, to start off, I'm just going to cut my bacon up, and I am going to get that in a pan, my little wok, and start sauteing it. Now, you can use more bacon if you want to, but I think that that's more than enough. The next component of the dish is going to be a little potato dish that I make, and I am using baby potatoes, but if you'd like, you can use regular potatoes and just cut them in smaller pieces. This does come with a seasoning packet, but I don't like to use it. I've never tried it before, but I like to make my own seasoning. So I usually just put those in the cabinet and save them for whenever a rainy day might be if I'm ever out of seasonings. But I'm going to get my potatoes, chop them up. I'm going to add some minced garlic to that. And oh my God, y'all, it tastes really great the way that I make this dish if you let them cook in chicken stock. Now, I'm still going to saute them, but then I'm going to let them get a little soft with some chicken stock. So, I mean, this is honestly one of the best ways to cook potatoes. So I'm really excited to show you guys how I do that. So all I'm going to do now is just cut my potatoes in half. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I was kind of concerned that I wasn't going to have enough potatoes for everyone because of the fact that I have been kind of like eating out of the box for my lunch. I have been taking some and like cooking them. So I just wanted to cut these in half. And also, I mean, it just makes them cook quicker. If you keep them whole, I usually only keep them whole in order to like bake them, but I ain't feel like turning the oven on, y'all. It's too darn hot to have that oven on 350, and you know, black people, we put the oven on darn near 450 for everything. So I'd rather just get them done on the stove top. So I'm just going to cut them in half to make cooking them take a little bit less time. Okay, so now I have all my potatoes cut up in half. I'm just going to put them back in the same container, and I'm going to go ahead and get these seasoned. Now, if you don't want to season your potatoes beforehand, you don't have to, but I like to season them and then place them in my oil. So I'm going to start off with some cracked black pepper, which y'all know that I love using black pepper, fresh cracked black pepper. I'm also going to use some garlic powder. And I mean, if you guys have seen my cooking videos before, then you know that I basically use the same seasonings all the time. So outside of my garlic powder, I'm going to then go in with parsley. Now, y'all, I promise you this parsley don't have a taste. It really does not. I think it just adds a really pretty, like, bright green look, but it has no flavor to me. Now, the oregano has so much flavor. I love oregano and potatoes, you guys. Now, if you like Greek potatoes, and that's like one of the main ingredients, I think oregano just, is so flavorful. So I love to add that. I'm also going to add a little bit of smoked paprika. This has got to be like one of my like 3rd favorite things to add to potatoes. That is exactly why we're out of it, y'all. I'm over here like darn near about to break the bottom of the paprika thing just to get some paprika. Now, I'm going to go in with a little bit of Italian seasoning, which I can't remember what exactly is in there, but I do know that that at least has some flavor to it. So, and then the last thing I'm going to use is onion powder. Now, if you don't want to use onion powder, you can always use fresh onions. I have done that before, but I didn't feel like cutting any onions up. But it tastes so good when you actually use fresh onions. But in the interim, I'll just be using some onion powder. And then, of course, y'all know we got to go in there with a little bit of Lowry's, you know? Like, that just hits so different than regular salt. Like, I can't even explain it, but Lowry's just, oh my God, it slaps so hard. Now, I know that I said earlier I was running out of paprika, but then I remembered that when I went to World Market the other day or last week, I had bought some paprika. So I'm like, oh my God, where the heck is that at? Now, of course, y'all, everybody acting like they don't know where this paprika is. I'm not the one that put it up. I don't trust anybody else to put up stuff because folks be putting stuff in cabinets everywhere. But eventually I find it after darn near 10 minutes of searching through cabinets and cobwebs and everything else. So this paprika that I'm using is actually a sweet paprika that I found in World Market. They also had a smoked one, but I really wanted to try this one a little more. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I can't really say that I could tell a difference between the sweet paprika and the regular paprika that I normally use. It definitely does smell the same. As far as taste go, I really have not like seen a difference or anything like that. But I mean, it's always worth a try if you're looking, you know, to test something new. So I'm just gonna get this all stirred up. I just want to get it thoroughly stirred up because once I put it in the pan, and you'll see how I put it in the pan, I'm going to try to sear those seasonings on there as fast as possible because of the fact that I'm going to be adding a liquid to it. So that's why you just want to thoroughly make sure that everything is nice and seasoned. Now, moving on to the next thing, I am just going to get my tomatoes prepared for my green beans. Now, I know there's like a black version of green beans, which are kind of like mushy and you cook them down all the way, which you usually boil them, but you can also do the same thing, sauteing. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be making these green beans halfway. So they're going to be a little bit soft, but they're also going to retain a crunch. So I want to chop my tomatoes up because I'm going to add these at the very end, right when my green beans are about 95% cooked. And then I'm going to turn the heat off once they get to that point. So I just want to at least prep my tomatoes at this point, but I'm not going to add them right away. So while I was prepping my potatoes and my tomatoes, I still had my bacon cooking in the skillet. So you don't want to cook this all the way down, you guys, because it still has to cook while you add the rest of your ingredients. So if you cook it all the way completely, it's going to burn. So I just cook it to the point where it has gotten crispy. And now I'm just adding in my green beans. Again, if you want to use fresh green beans, you can. You may need to adjust the cooking time a little bit. I personally don't like canned green beans, but by all means, you can definitely add those as well. Now, I stay eating canned green beans whenever people used to have parties pre-Rona, but for this particular dish, I just like using frozen green beans because it's easier. And y'all, these only cost 89 cents a bag, so we're not trying to spend a whole bunch of coin on these. Now, I am going to add a little bit of olive oil in there. It's not going to take these green beans that long to cook. Like, sometimes people don't want to use frozen green beans because they think they're going to take a long time. But when you put them in the wok and you have the heat high and you're sauteing them, I mean, they really only take about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to stir these guys, get them completely covered in oil, and then I'm going to let them go ahead and get cooked all the way through and then add my tomatoes a little bit later. So now, y'all, look at these potatoes. These bad boys look so good. And now what I did was I made sure to place all of them face down because, like I said, I really want to sear that seasoning on there. So I placed them face down at first. As you can see, they're starting to get brown. That seasoning is getting stuck on the potatoes. Now, if you just put them in there any type of way, especially if you put them skin side down, then basically what's going to happen when you add your liquid is they're just going to, like, all the seasoning is basically going to fall off. So I like to at least give them a couple minutes to cook where I have the heat on high and I really like get that seasoning stuck on there. And now I'm just going to stir them around. Like I said, I'm not really concerned about the other side, like the skin side, having the seasoning stuck on there. I really just want that flesh side to actually have seasoning on there. Ew, I hate using flesh to describe a potato. That's so random. But anyway, now that I've got that done, you guys, I'm going to add my chicken stock in. Now, this is probably about a cup and a half of chicken stock. I literally just wanted to use what was left. Now, usually I will do this with beef broth, but I didn't have any, so all I'm doing, you guys, is putting the chicken stock in there. I'm going to stir this very gently, and you're just going to put that on like medium heat and let it cook down. That's it. As it cooks down, your potatoes are going to cook the rest of the way through. They're going to get infused with that chickeny stock goodness. And now look, I'm going back to my green beans. We double tasking, y'all. We multitasking. We are getting it all done at one time. So my green beans are looking really good. My potatoes are probably at a simmer right now. So those are cooking down. As you can see, the green beans have a little bit of water at the bottom. That's, of course, because that they were frozen, and that's all that moisture coming out. So you just want to cook that on like a medium heat, and eventually all that water is going to come out. Now, all of that water, like I said, has evaporated. So I'm content with my green beans. I feel like they're basically cooked all the way through. I'm going to add in my cherry tomatoes at this point. And that's why I said that you don't want to cook your green beans like super long, because they still kind of have a bright green color to them. And that's really what I want to keep. And that's why I add my tomatoes at the end, because if you add your tomatoes too quickly, they're basically just going to get like super wilted. So I'm going to go ahead and season this. And I don't like to add a lot of seasonings on my green beans, shockingly enough. So I'm just going to add a little bit of garlic powder and some Lowry's. Y'all, the secret ingredient that's going to make your green beans slap, no matter how you cook them, is this blue agave syrup. You guys know that I would not send you off. Like, honestly, I would not send you off. Adding this blue agave syrup to green beans, even if you don't have tomatoes and bacon and none of that in there, y'all, oh my God, like I can't really even express to you the fact that it just makes them taste so freaking delicious, okay? Do not add sugar. Do not use honey. You have to get the blue agave syrup. You can use the light version or the regular version. But even if you just have that and some salt, oh my goodness. Now, I tasted it, y'all. It slapped. It was so freaking good. Yes, honey, yes. These green beans are delicious. I had to go back in for more. Like, literally, I tasted it some more. It tastes the same. Stirring it did nothing. I just wanted to taste some more. They were just so good. Like, honestly, just a combo of the agave syrup, the bacon, the salt, the garlic powder, the tartness of the tomatoes, and then the green beans themselves and the olive oil. Oh my God. Now I'm just going to add one little piece of butter, like a tablespoon of butter, and let that melt. And they're going to start to get super creamy. Oh my goodness. It's delicious. Okay, y'all, back to these potatoes, okay? I'm like going like ham on this voiceover, so sorry if I'm super excited. Because I'm seeing this again for the first time, and I'm just like so excited all over again. Now, as you can see, look at where all the liquid used to be. You can see the line in the pan. That's how much this all basically condensed down. And now I've added some butter, and look at the sauce that's starting to develop. Now, I did also add some minced garlic, like I said before. I added that a little bit after I added my chicken stock. But with just a little bit of stock that's left over that kind of got thickened up, as I'm stirring, you can see how the butter that is melting is creating a super, super creamy sauce for these potatoes. Like, I wish that y'all could see this. I wish you could smell it. I wish you could taste it. I mean, honestly, I can't even describe just how flavorful they are. Like, every potato is completely flavorful. So look at that creamy sauce right there. And like, honestly, this sauce tastes good. Like, if you dip some meat in it or something like that, it's just that good. It doesn't even have to just be for potatoes. I would cook anything this way. So I'm tasting one just to make sure they're cooked, and they definitely are. But honestly, you guys, this way of cooking potatoes is so delicious. Now we're on to our shrimp. At this point, I'm just going to season my shrimp because they have finally kind of like thawed out, and really I had to set them in some water. But I want to get them seasoned just so that they can marinate for a little bit before I cook my salmon. Now I have a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm going to add some garlic powder, and these are those shrimp that come with the shell on. They're considered the red Argentine shrimp, I think. So they already come pre-split down the middle, deveined and everything like that. So outside of my garlic powder, I'm also going to use this lemon pepper mix that you guys have seen me using for, I think, a few videos I've used this in. Honestly, shrimp is one of my favorite things to use that on. I mean, it just tastes so delicious, and there are a lot of seasonings in there. Outside of that, I'm going to go back in with some seasoned salt, which, again, if you don't use seasoned salt, you can always use regular salt. Or if you're salt free, then you don't have to add any. And I'm just going to make sure that that's getting thoroughly mixed in. Now, again, with the shrimp that come with the skin on it, especially when they come pre-cut like that, some pieces inadvertently are not going to get seasoned. But y'all know, like, you want every shrimp to taste good, okay? You don't want to eat one shrimp and it's so flavorful, then you eat the next one and it tastes bland. So I'm just going to go through and make sure that I'm getting seasoning in each one of those shrimp. And you'll know, especially with the spice blend, it's like, it almost looks like peppercorns. So if your shrimp look like a regular shrimp that has been untouched by the seasoning, then just go back in and add a little bit more seasoning to the open parts of the shrimp, so to speak. And that's what I'm going to do now, just to make sure that each piece of shrimp is getting seasoned thoroughly. So my potatoes and my green beans are finally done. My shrimp are now sitting there marinating, and I'm going to just go ahead and cook my salmon. Now, I wanted to wait and cook this last because I still want my salmon to be hot when I serve it. I have some olive oil in this pan, and I have the heat so high. And it's because I really want to sear the salmon on the one side. So as you can see, oh my God, it's beautifully seared. I wish I had smell-o-vision. I wish I could mail each one of y'all a piece of this salmon, because it was just like so like freaking delicious. I'm not even lying to you, especially since it marinated for a few hours. I mean, the flavors just really got a chance to infuse throughout the salmon. And y'all know, usually I just use that salmon that comes in the bag that's frozen from like Aldi, or you can get it from Sam's or something like that. And it's not necessarily the best salmon. This salmon was on sale for $5 a pound. So I got an entire fillet for, oh my God, maybe $12. Now, I was struggling to flip it. I don't even know why. Like my flipping skills, it doesn't matter. Omelets, pancakes, anything that requires a spatula, I'm not a good flipper. So if y'all ever have me over when Rona is over and you want me to help you cook or something like that, do not put me on nothing that requires a flip, because your stuff is more than likely going to be broken some pieces, okay? Sorry in advance. So now that my salmon is cooked on both sides and it's kind of charred, I did flip it over again to char it even more. Now, if you're like me, I just like my stuff to be just on the verge of being burnt, honestly. I like a crispy, like, outer surface of everything, and like you just have to be careful because you don't want to overcook the salmon. But as you can see, this salmon is not overcooked, you guys. It's extremely flaky. It was still very moist, and that's why I kind of just increased my heat, because I wanted to just crisp it up on the outside without overcooking it. So my heat is like on 10, and as you can see, it's still very flaky. Now, I've taken my salmon out. I've left the remnants of oil and seasonings and salmon bits, and I've added about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm then going to go in with the juice of half a lime or half a lemon. And I really was supposed to add lime to this, but I grabbed the wrong thing. I had them both cut up on the counter, and I used my lemon instead. Now, I used half a lemon, and I also added some more of that agave syrup. I try to keep themes when I cook so the stuff doesn't taste vastly different from each other. But the green beans, even though I use the agave syrup, they're not sweet, you guys. It seems like they would be super sweet, but they're not. They have just a hint of sweetness. Now, this salmon is going to be sweet. This sauce is, because I heavily seasoned it with all those savory seasonings. I have everything in my pan right now, and all I'm going to do is just let this come to a boil, and I promise you, you guys, this sauce is going to thicken up so nicely. My salmon has been sitting here, and I'm just going to add my sauce. And as you can see when I pour it, it only took me about 3.5 minutes to cook the sauce completely. Look how thick that got. And it's going to thicken up like that because of the sugars that are in the agave syrup, which is why I always like to use it. Of course, you can use honey if you like. This is supposed to be like a honey lime salmon, but like I said, I don't use honey for these things. So it's more like an agave lemon salmon instead. But y'all, the sauce tastes so rich. It was tart, it was sweet, it was creamy because of the butter. It had a little bit of saltiness to it. It was honestly just delicious. And the last thing that I have to cook is my shrimp. And of course you cook these last because they don't take that long. Again, I just have these in a little bit of olive oil. I have them with the shell side down. And that's it. I'm just going to cook these on both sides until they're cooked thoroughly. But you just want to make sure that you're not overcooking them. Now, I do not know what was coming over me this night, but I was feeling extremely ambitious. So I decided to make a little drinky drink. Now, these are the same little drinks that I showed you guys in my World Market haul. So I'm just going to make a really quick like guava punch, if you want to call it that. I'm using the Bundaberg Guava Drink. I'm also using some maraschino cherries, and then I have a little bit of liquor in the background, some white rum, so it's almost like a guava rum punch. I also have some lemon and lime slices that I'm going to be adding, and I have this really cute glass that I got from the Scott Brothers collection on QVC. If you want the link for the glasses, let me know in a comment and I'll just give you the link directly. So anyway, we're just going to start off with some ice in a glass, and then I am going to pour a little bit of that maraschino cherry syrup at the bottom. I really love the taste of this. The guava is not extremely sweet. It has a little bit of a tartness, so I love the sweet contrast of the maraschino cherry syrup. Now, anyways, on to the next step. I'm going to pour in some of my guava punch. Now, I normally would pour the whole thing, but I wanted to take a picture later, so I only poured half. And then I'm going to follow that up with just a little bit of my rum. Now, of course, you can add as much or as little as you like. Me, I'm not necessarily a big liquor drinker, so I don't necessarily like the taste of a lot of liquor. I like myself to taste like juice if possible. Now, this is a little bit sweet, so I'm going to add a little bit of lime juice and a little bit of lemon juice. And I do like sweet drinks, but I really was trying to try something different and have a sweet and sour contrast in this one. So after I stir it up, I mean, it tastes delicious. There's really nothing else to do, you guys. I'm just going to add in a few maraschino cherries because I like to dig for those and eat them at the end of my meal. And I'm going to garnish this with a lemon slice on the lime slice. And I decided at the last minute that I wanted to also garnish it with some cherries. So I went to try to find a toothpick, y'all. I mean, randomly, my parents have had toothpicks in this drawer for like 20 years. I'm not going to lie. And they're dispersed throughout this drawer that also contains household items. So I had to dig in there. I found a toothpick, and I'm just going to put my maraschino cherries on there and use that as my last bit of garnish. And there you have it. Literally a super, super, super easy drink to make. If you don't want to add any rum to it, honestly, just the guava drink on its own without the maraschino cherry syrup or the rum tastes so fire. But if you're looking for a little nightcap, you guys, I mean, this just tastes so amazing. And I think this would be a really pretty drink, especially if you like to sit outside or something like that. And, you know, the whole ambiance of the entire summer situation, okay? So this is a cute little drink. You know, I think it would be great with your dinner. It really complements the salmon as well. So hopefully you guys try this and let me know what you think. Now, I didn't forget about my little shrimp, y'all. Like I said, I wanted to sear these because I do like my stuff to be a little bit on the burnt side. And these were not burnt. They also weren't overcooked either. I had the pan on like a medium-low heat. So, especially having that shell casing on there, or like the whatever you call the little thing the shrimp being, y'all, that really helps them to cook evenly without overcooking, because of the fact that the heat has a little barrier between the actual shrimp itself and the pan. So these are nice and cooked. I'm just gonna flip them over, let them go for a few more seconds, and then we will be completely done with this entire meal. The last minute, I did decide that I wanted to add another level of flavor to my shrimp. So I did add some minced garlic in there, and I'm just a big fan of garlic. So I like to add it to everything. It's completely up to you if you want to add it or not, but I really do think it adds a really good depth of flavor to the shrimp. I also decided to go in with a quarter of a lime wedge and just squeeze a little bit of that over my shrimp as well. I have a citrus stream. What is that? What is that? I have a citrus theme going on during dinner. So I wanted to add a little bit of that to my shrimp. And honestly, it's just the most minute amount. So you really won't taste it, but it is going to add a little bit of tartness to the shrimp. My God, y'all. Get into this meal. Oh my goodness, you guys, I cannot tell you how happy and pleased I am with how this turned out. Now, I do cook a lot, but I haven't been cooking like this, like with all these sides and stuff like that. I'd be like, y'all, here goes some meatloaf, leave me alone. But I really felt like cooking this day, and I'm just so pleased with how everything turned out. Because of the fact that my salmon has like a tart sauce on it, I did want to accompany it with some mango salsa from Sam's Club. Now, the mango salsa absolutely has no heat to it. It has no tartness to it. So because my family has no issue with eating a little bit of heat, I'm adding some cayenne pepper on top of my salmon. I wanted to add this at the end because I actually wanted to get that kick of heat in my mouth. And that's it. I mean, honestly, the salmon accompanied with the salsa is so fire, and the salsa doesn't have a lot of calories either. It's 40 calories for 2 tablespoons, which is more than enough for one like 4 to 5 ounce salmon fillet. So now I'm just going to show you guys me building my little plate up. I have my salmon, which is like perfectly charred for me, and I'm just adding that tart agave syrup sauce on top, which, oh, it got so sticky at this point, you guys, but I love that because it had the butter in there, so even though it got a little sticky, it's still creamy. I have my potatoes and my green beans, which still retain their green color, and then my tomatoes are not mushy, and I'm just adding my shrimp now. Like, y'all, what more could you want in a plate? Oh, that looks so good. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to add is my mango salsa right on top of my salmon. Like, literally, just imagine yourself digging into this with your fork, getting a piece of salmon, some of that sauce, and getting like a little bit of mango on there, and then taking that first bite. Oh my God. This is it, you guys. Get into this plate. I mean, tell me y'all would not pay $50 for this, okay? Now, maybe y'all wouldn't pay $50, but y'all, this is worth some coin, all right? I mean, this is just such an easy and really delicious meal that you can easily swap out ingredients with and enjoy on a nice summer night with your family or with yourself and a nice little drink, honey. Tell me how you guys like it, how your family likes it, and thank you again for watching this video. I'm going to include a brief little link of my mom being shady, even though she loved the meal, but thank you guys again. Is the food delicious or not?
Okay, it's pretty good.
Just say it's delicious. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
1.
That's not funny. Would you eat it again?
I hope not.
Mom! Let me go back to what I was doing.
Any more questions?
No, that was mean.
Oh my goodness.
You crack yourself up.
Yes.
Oh, you would eat this again. You're just being a hater.
Okay.
I mean, these potatoes are pretty good.
Don't you have some on your plate?
No.